It's hard to believe, but 90 million years ago, Antarctica wasn't a frozen wasteland. Instead, it was a vibrant and lush rainforest filled with diverse wildlife. Millions of years ago, a variety of species inhabited Antarctica, yet all life eventually vanished when the environment turned into a harsh, frigid tundra. Today, only several species continue to live in the freezing landscape of the southern hemisphere. It's the only continent with no permanent human habitation, and it might remain that way. Many questions surround this cold and barren land, and to this day, we continue to discover new things that change our perspective about what lies in the southern hemisphere. From wonky compasses to a monstrous, unknown creature, here are 7 fascinating discoveries in Antarctica that could change history. Number 7. The doomed endurance shipwreck. Ernest Shackleton is a household name for those interested in Antarctic explorations. He was an Anglo-Irish Antarctic explorer who led 3 expeditions to the Antarctic region. He bravely faced the harshness of the frozen continent in exchange for exploring uncharted territory. One of the vessels he sailed was the Endurance. This vessel tragically sank during one of the failed attempts to cross Antarctic. The Endurance expedition began in 1914, and by 1915, it was already trapped in ice. The people who joined the expedition lived on the vessel for months until they were forced to abandon the ship to trek on the ice. On November 21, 1915, the Endurance sank into the icy waters of the Antarctic. It wasn't until recently that we developed new technology that could recover the sunken vessel of Endurance from the icy depths of Antarctica. Number 6. Antarctic Pyramids. At the beginning of 2016, a strange discovery circulated the internet. Several people claimed that while looking around Antarctica on Google Earth, they discovered images of what looked like ice pyramids. A pyramid is a structure with a triangular surface. Many ancient cultures all around the world have built pyramids that exist to this day, from the Great Pyramids in Egypt to the temples in Cambodia. And so if there's a pyramid in Antarctica, there might be a lot more to discover on the continent. After all, the existence of such a refined and sophisticated structure could only mean that an ancient civilization once occupied the frozen location. Long before the first explorer stepped foot on Antarctica, and long before Antarctica was quote-unquote discovered, there are a lot of theories about the pyramids in Antarctica. Some of the theories are somewhat controversial, some claiming that in the past, an Atlantis civilization existed in Antarctica. They might have lived on the continent thousands of years ago. Still, they could create and build pyramids because they had skills that were literally out of this world. They were extraterrestrial creatures who visited our planet and decided to make a temporary home on Earth. 2 of the pyramids in Antarctica are located about 10 miles from the coast, while the 3rd is located near the shoreline. Number 5. The Antarctic King. Today, there aren't a lot of creatures living in Antarctica. You have penguins, seals, and tiny creatures, but that's about it. However, millions of years ago, the BioAntarctica was incredibly different. A long time ago, a creature known as the Antarctic King roamed its lands. More than 250 million years ago, Antarctica had a landscape that could support a lot of life. Its temperature wasn't as unforgiving as it is now. In fact, it was rare for the temperature to reach -degrees. One of the creatures that called Antarctica home was an iguana-sized reptile that was an early relative of the dinosaurs. It's known as the Antarctic Shackletoni. Its first name roughly translates to Antarctica King. Meanwhile, its second name is a tribute to none other than Ernest Shackleton, one of the earliest people who dared to explore Antarctica. Researchers discovered an incomplete fossil of the creature, and although it wasn't complete, it was enough to give experts a rough idea of what it looked like. It resembled a tiny lizard, but in the past, it was one of the fistiest creatures on the land. Number 4. Dead bodies. It's a tragic fact that a lot of peoples come to the frozen environment of Antarctica. While exploring it, one of the most horrific stories was of Captain Scott. Captain Robert Falcon Scott was a British Royal Navy officer who led a team of explorers to the Antarctic region. He bravely spearheaded 2 expeditions in Antarctica, but in his last one, he perished on the frozen landscape. It wasn't until October 29th, 1912, that the body of Captain Scott was discovered by Trygve Grand, a young Norwegian explorer. Grand described in his journal how exactly he found the body of Captain Scott. In his diary, he claimed that the body of Captain Scott turned a transparent yellow due to the freezing temperature. Beside the man were 2 others who looked as if they were just asleep. Captain Scott, however, looked like he suffered immensely in his last moments. As a reward for exploring Antarctica and finding Captain Scott's body, Grand won the polar medal. Recently, his sledding journals, which included some of the most horrifying tales about the Antarctic exploration, sold for a staggering €150,000. Number 3. The oldest sperm in the world. Sperm cells are quite hard to preserve. That's why scientists were incredibly impressed when they discovered a fossilized sperm cell in Antarctica. What's more astounding is the fact that it can be traced back to 50 million years ago. Now you're probably thinking that the sperm cell belonged to a human, which doesn't add up considering its age. The sperm cell belonged to a class of earthworms and leeches called Clitella. This species lived in the early Eocene period, around the time when the first horses, sheep, and rhinos graced the earth. The sperm cell could only survive until recently because a jelly-like cocoon enclosed the entire cell. Through this, and the freezing temperature in Antarctica, the fossilized cell survived for millions of years. Spermatozoa are exceptionally delicate, and they aren't observed in nature for very long. In fact, they're among the hardest to preserve. Number 2. Largest recorded iceberg. Icebergs are large floating chunks or masses of ice detached from a glacier or an ice sheet. Although these chunks of ice have been separated from the glacier, experts continue to track their journey. The largest iceberg ever recorded by area measured around 295 by 37 kilometers. That's a hopping 159 by 20 nautical miles. It's a massive iceberg about the size of the island of Jamaica. It broke off from the massive Ross Ice Shelf in March 2000, and since then it was called Iceberg B15. In 2018, however, the iceberg was seen broken into tiny fragments, and today most of the iceberg, B15, is melted away, melting and breaking into tiny fragments or everyday occurrences for an iceberg. After all, an iceberg's journey will end sooner or later. However, because of our ever-changing planet, the rate at which icebergs disappear is rapidly increasing. It's a regular occurrence, but soon enough, there will come a time when the southern hemisphere will become warmer and warmer as our planet continues to change. Just like Antarctica turned into a frozen tundra from a rainforest biome, the glaciers might soon melt. As dramatic changes occur in the polar regions, the entire world will also be affected. Scientists believe that as the glaciers and bergs in the icy regions of our planet continue to melt, the ocean level will rise all over the world. We'll never know. The melting ice might reveal the secrets hidden in the southern hemisphere, but will we be able to endure the changes in our planet? And now it's time for today's topic. There is a new discovery on the edge of Antarctica that scares scientists. Antarctica is among the most inhospitable places on Earth. It's also the most mysterious. Men who would like to learn more about the frozen land need to venture into this frigid and icy plain to gather data. Most people think that there's nothing to discover in Antarctica, but time and time again, scientists tell their interest in the southern hemisphere, believing there's more to it ice. Several people believe that long before the first modern humans ventured into Antarctica, a long-lost civilization made it their home and established a flourishing society amidst its unforgiving environment. Some believe that remnants of this civilization are still out there beneath the Antarctica ice. In fact, some people believe scientists have already uncovered evidence of this long-lost civilization, but are keeping it a secret. What do you think about this theory? As always, comment down below with the hashtag today's topic and let us know your opinion about what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 1. Mysterious Antarctic monster. In the 1960s, the Japanese research vessel traversed the icy waters of the Antarctic to learn more about the creatures inhabiting the area. At the time, we didn't know as much about the southern hemisphere as we do today. The researchers were eager to discover new creatures, but the team didn't expect what they saw. A massive creature between 20 to 30 meters in length appeared before them. The creature broke through the surface of the icy water, and the researchers were astounded. The being that appeared before them was unlike any other they'd ever seen. The witnesses claimed that the creature they saw was entirely white in color. It had a human-like shape with arms and legs, and it even had 5-fingered hands. It also had a pair of eyes and a mouth, but its nose was non-existent. Because of its men-like appearance, it was named the Ninjin after the Japanese word for human. Shortly after it showed itself, it immediately dove back into the water and disappeared into the frigid depths. Since then, several people have claimed to see the Ninjin, and some submersibles obtain short clips showing the creature. However, there are still doubts surrounding its existence. Some claim that the description of the Ninjin is too vague. Its size and features vary, and the only consistent description of it is its white color. There were no other attempts to hunt the Ninjin down for fear that it was a man-eating monster. While many dismissed the Ninjin as a myth and an imaginary creature, many explorers believe that it's not impossible for such a monster to exist in the deepest and darkest waters of the Antarctic. I'm amazed at the discoveries made in the South Pole. If you have any interesting facts related to this region, then please do share them in the comments section. It will be great to hear everyone's thoughts on these new findings. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.